Okay, welcome back everybody. 2 back-to-back sessions for you now before we break for lunch. The next session looks at the cloud-native telco, empowering agility and cost optimization. So how is the adoption of cloud-native practices empowering agility, facilitating new service creation, and enabling cost optimization? How should telcos adopt these design principles end-to-end for GitOps-driven CI/CD and automated lifecycle management? And how do they ensure that they have the right teams and strategies in place today? Well, these are the topics we're going to be tackling during the next session. So let's meet our guest panelists, and I'm going to ask them to briefly introduce themselves, starting at the far side with Laura.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Laura Murphy. I am a Senior Transformation Lead at BT in Network Services, currently focusing on the closure of our Exchange estate.
Okay, Laura, thank you. Abir.
Hi, good morning. My name is Abir Hossain. I'm part of Elisa, a Finnish Estonian operator, and VP there on our technology and operations unit responsible for our strategy and then strategy deployment and initiatives.
Daryl.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Daryl Jordan-Smith. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at Wind River.
Vivek.
Good morning, everyone. Ray, thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here. Vivek Chadha. I run the global cloud business at Rakuten Symphony.
And Franz.
Good morning again. Franz Seiser, Deutsche Telekom, Core Networks, and I will tell you in a minute what I'm doing.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody. So Franz is our co-host for this session, and we'll start this particular session with a special DSP leader's address. So Franz, if you want to make your way to the podium.
Sure, my pleasure. So, hello, great to be back. I've been here exactly on the same session last year as well. Maybe someone remembers, at least some of the guys here were asking me already if I bring the burger again. Well, I leave that up to your imagination, but we are still using it and working it. I just told you, I'll tell you in a minute what we are doing and what my team is doing. So I'm part, and we are back in Core Networks, as we discussed in the opening panel here. We are really consequently driving, making the whole core network cloud native. I personally am in charge for all the platforms we call to produce the customer data traffic. So that includes mobile core, that includes customer database, DNS, AAA, PCF, also fixed network control plane. And we are really on a mission to move everything into cloud native, so CNFs. We have built our own horizontal, our own cloud layer. You remember the burger, the lower bread is our private cloud, which we develop. Well, we don't develop, we integrate in-house because we use open source Kubernetes and then we enrich it and put it together and harden it. And we have the upper layer, and I think that's the even more important thing, looking at it today after doing that now for a couple of months. That's our automation. So we have our own automation framework, means we take the CNFs from the suppliers, but we do not take the management software. We ask them to integrate into our Git pipes. We ask them to integrate in all our set of automation tools so that we also have a consistent automation layer on top of all our network functions. And that includes, as I said, all the packet-related topics, but that also includes voice and all the rest. So I think by roughly end of next year, we will have a significant amount of workloads in the cloud already, and by 27, 28, the vast majority will run in horizontal telco cloud. A few exceptions you always have, like we just had a discussion yesterday, that's why it's on top of my mind, DDoS, right? There are a couple of applications where you still technology is not there where you need it also performance-wise, but all the rest will run in cloud native. That's where we are. And now what I wanted to do a little bit, few minutes, is share what we learned. So you're always talking about efficiencies, and we see that. We don't see that obviously today, because we are still in the middle of implementation, and while you implement, you still need to run your legacy systems as well. You remember my magic thing before, get rid of legacy. But for the time being, we still need to run in parallel. But if you look forward on our plannings, we see a massive decline in the efforts we need to spend once we are there. So cost savings, tick mark. Yeah? And the second thing, and that's a pretty interesting one, agility and speed. And I'm part of this whole cloud story for a long time. We always talked about time to market. But what we learned rather recently is over the last couple of months, it's not only about introducing new features and new services, it's also keeping pace with today's challenges. And as we are in times, if you like it or not, where all these threats and cyber attacks are increasing all the time, you need to keep your network up to date and up to speed to protect yourself. And this is something where cloud native helps tremendously. And I still, as of today, I have certain functions already running in cloud native and a couple still running in virtualized mode or even worse. And we see tremendous difference in the speed, how quickly we can roll out fixes. Yeah, and in cloud native, we talk a few days. In legacy, we are happy if we talk weeks, if not months. So that's a tremendous difference in speed you get by moving to that horizontal architecture. And of course, if it's something that is more on the Linux kernel level, if you solve it once, you have solved it for your whole environment, versus if you have different suppliers, you have, which probably use different versions, you have multiple discussions, which also doesn't make you faster anyway. So this increase in speed on the one side regarding products, but really protecting your network and helping you staying up to date and being able to keep pace with the development speed of the industry, that's a massive plus that we found by going cloud native. The rest, I don't want to repeat what we discussed in the morning, right? It's totally obvious. This is complete. That's the basis for everything else. If you're not running properly in software on all these Git pipes and having all your data also properly then via data ingest stored in your data lakes, all these nice ideas and visions we have where AI can help and we are working on that, it simply doesn't fly because it's all software. So it's really a software architecture piece you need to have in place. And that's why I was really happy to see this morning, and also whoever voted for us being up there on the report. I didn't see it before, but it's of course good to see that this is exactly what we are pushing for and driving for. So for setting the scene of the session, I would stop here and then see how it goes. Thank you.
Okay, round of applause for Franz, please. Thank you very much. Okay, thanks, Franz. The speed element, I think, is something that's going to crop up quite a lot through different sessions over the next couple of days. But let's open up the discussion now to the panel. And first of all, take a look at how telcos need to align their cloud-native transformation roadmaps with broader digital and business strategies in order to maximize their competitive differentiation. Because as we heard earlier, we're not just doing this, the network operators aren't doing this just because they can. There are business imperatives here, and obviously Franz mentioned a few of those there already. So how can the telcos align their cloud-native strategies with what's going on in the broader organization? So Laura, if we can start with you, because we obviously talked before today's session, and you had some pretty firm ideas about some of the key elements that need to be addressed beyond just cloud-native processes and technologies.
Yes, I think I'm known for my pretty firm ideas, so there we are. Thank you. It's a really interesting question, I think, when you focus on the how, right? I think to start with that is being very, very clear on your why. Like, why does this strategy exist? What customer value proposition does it start and end with? What is the pace of it? What is the scale of it? And I think when you've got that very clearly and consistently communicated out to everybody who needs to understand that in an organization, step two is then to actually reflect on that organization and think about, well, where are we in our ability to meet that strategy? what's the state of our data? What's the quality? What's the coverage? What's the governance? Where are we on our people skills? You know, what learning journeys do we need to take specific sections of our population through in order to upskill them to meet this technology? Where are we on our ways of working? Where are we on our tool deployment? What's our infrastructure like? What's our culture like? And really bringing all of that together gives you specific data points, even if they're only at the state of assumption, to then build roadmaps and heat maps to start to drive out the how you're going to meet that challenge of bringing that strategy into a particular organization at a particular point in time. And I think that holistic approach, going right across technology, tooling, people, culture, data, governance, regulation, you know, all those different parameters, gives you that ability to break out of the POC prison that was referred to earlier. Right? Because it's not just simply about the deployment of the technology, it's actually the organization into which it goes.
Okay, thanks, Laura. Abir, do you want to come in on this? How are things changing with you?
Well, when we talk about competitive differentiation with then cloudification, I think it's, as Fran said, you know, faster time to go to market, more agility, you know, operational efficiency, etc. And it boils down that when we talk about cloudification, it can't be an IT project per se. So many times, cloudification as such is something that is driven from this sort of technology unit naturally, but then it's up to the unit to make it so that it's not an IT project. It's not just a lift and shift project from legacy to, you know, modern cloud architecture base, but it is actually transformational. It actually has business impact. It actually builds a competitive differentiating factor. And I think if I give one example is that at Elisa, we haven't had for the last 9 or so years any A-level incidents. And during this time within the market, there has been a bit over 60 A-grade incidents, among which Elisa has had none. And this has established us to be a premium or a quality operator in the market. And this was only possible due to automation, which then is due to cloudification. And this is, in a way, the message that we need to emphasize or echo throughout the organization, that it's not an IT project, it's a business transformation project building us capabilities to distinguish ourselves then from the competitors.
And can I just ask, at Elisa, is there a broader understanding across the entire company that this is something that isn't just a tech issue, this is something that impacts all parts of the business?
I mean, I would like to say that yes, everyone is aware, but we've been in this journey for the past, you know, plus 10 years, and over time it has gotten better. But still, when it comes to, you know, budget topics and so forth, it's then you get to see who actually understand and where is there room for improvement. And what we've done is that we've taken an active approach to educate throughout the organization. And I believe, you know, when it comes to software development, etc., they are very much aware as to the importance of cloudification. But then when you go more to the commercial side, there we haven't been able to yet showcase the value that cloudification then brings.
Okay. And Daryl, when you're out speaking to customers and clients, who are you talking to, and do you get the sense that there is a better understanding now, a broader understanding of the impact of cloud native across the board?
I think so. I think our clients are very focused on how they actually take what they've built and create a common platform or infrastructure across that enables them to scale. I think that cloud native is a component of that, which is very important. And what we've seen more recently is automation through AI technologies. So, you know, we're involved in a number of projects that look at how do we migrate existing platforms to new platforms and do that at light speed, literally at light speed in very small periods of time, in order for them to create new services. And then we connect that to the other parts of our business, which are around mission critical operational technology in different verticals. So a lot of the telcos and operators that we work with are saying, well, how do we get into the into the aerospace industry or the automotive industry or the industrial industry? How do we get those end devices connected into our network and run that over our network in a cloud-native manner?
Okay. And Vivek, obviously, you're able to come from with experience and knowledge of Rakuten Mobile, which obviously, always said cloud native from day one. But at Rakuten Symphony, you're going out and talking to companies that certainly, are having to learn and introduce and integrate and understand cloud native. How do you think things are changing in the broader understanding?
So I think one thing that I'm really happy about, and thank you for the report, is seeing the recognition of Rakuten Symphony moving up. I think we were number 11 the last time the report came out. We're at number 4. So there is some empirical evidence as well that this is firmly taking traction. In terms of the conversations we are having with customers, they largely fall into 2 buckets. And that determines the stakeholders we end up having the conversation with. One of them is, and this goes to the definition of what transformation means at any given time to a certain stakeholder. One of the buckets is run the business. So they want operational efficiency, automation, there's a cost imperative, etc. And that is a bit of, we'll do more of what we have, but can we do it quicker, faster, cheaper? And cloud native is a technology angle which allows them to move forward. And this is just run the business. This is not, they're not looking to do something dramatically different with their business or the top line, etc. Even if those projects are happening, they're happening in isolation. But the bigger conversation that is now becoming a little bit more visible to us is change the business. And that is true transformation, where the business, the executive leadership of the customer is saying, we get the technology role something like cloud native can play. We understand there is a process impact, there is a skill set impact to it. And this was even before AI came and intersected with it. These executives are saying, how can I take advantage of what cloud native enables, not as a technology, but as a way of running and changing my business? And that is then unlocking a very different way of thinking. And there the business case is predicated on not just the cost that they save, but what additional synergies, revenue streams, etc., they can unlock. So those are 2 different camps in which we're seeing the conversations.
Mm-hmm. We're going to come on to costs in a minute, but Frans, if we can come back to something you mentioned a little bit earlier on, to do with getting your data strategy in order first. There's a lot of talk now, of course, with AI native strategies, and everybody's going, oh yes, right, we need to get our data house in order now. But that's also true for cloud native as well, isn't it? So is it fair to say that the network operators that have been on the cloud native journey as such for a longer period are perhaps better set up and have that data strategy in better order than maybe some of the others?
I hope so. Otherwise, we would have done something wrong. Now, this whole cloud native, of course, goes together with a complete change of mindset. So what we did in course of that exercise, we completely changed the organization from classical waterfall to agile working. We really educate and do skill development with our people to be much more in this software thinking and in this whole agile working software environment thing. And then these insights more or less become automatically as people are much more in the thinking. They know how things fit together. They understand the importance, because in cloud, as we discussed earlier, in cloud you don't start to do anything manually anymore. So it's all going through pipes, and all deployments, all of that is fully automated, and nobody would ever start to manually intervene a workload running in your cloud, because then you better restart the whole site. And then it becomes anyhow clear that you need to have visibility, that you need to have all the data in place, so you have your tools looking into it, helping you to understand what's going wrong, where you need to work on your automation scripts to get things going. So all these insights, they come as part of this exercise more or less automatically. And once you are there, it's a much smaller step to understand that, of course, the quality of the data is super important, because on wrong data, you obviously do wrong decisions. The only thing, and this only, of course, is not a small only, is then you still, and that's some happening as well, how does this fit into an overall data architecture, right? We have the data, and now we need to put that into the right architecture, and then we are ready to go at scale. Of course, you can always do POCs and tests, but if you want to do it something at scale, you need to have a proper architecture in place, and that luckily leads more or less automatically to that situation.
Okay. I just want to come back quickly then to Vivek and Daryl and ask if those data conversations are something that crops up early in your engagements, or is it something that you're introducing or that the client is introducing when you first chat to them?
I mean, in our case, it's one of the earlier topics that happens very, very quickly. And in a lot of cases, I think customers are now aware that if they do want to do a transformation of how they're going to deliver, change technology components, et cetera, in a cloud-native way, they can't do it agnostic of how their data is managed from a lifecycle point of view. It's actually getting even more accentuated now because AI is nothing but a keyword without data. And for you to be able to do something meaningful, you don't just need access to that data, but you need it in a manner that is quick, easy, consistent to manage, and it's actually holistic because data somehow has this habit of finding many homes across different organizations. And I think this will continue to be the case. So in our case, we've been very fortunate that, again, thanks to some of the earlier customers that we had who went onto the AI journey, quite independent from us, to be honest, but then pulled us along. We've ended up making perhaps one of the fastest deployable AI data cloud platforms in the world, which sits on top of Rakuten Cloud. And that actually comes inbuilt with adapters, which allow customers to say, it doesn't matter if I use X or Y, if I have 20 data lakes or just one. They can get to business outcomes pretty much in days, not even weeks. So we are very, very clearly sort of aware and working on ensuring that cloud-native transformation happens hand in hand with data as well.
No, I would agree with what Vivek just said. I think if I were to build on from our perspective a little bit more is that our customers are looking at how do they create better applications on that infrastructure that builds on that data that sits there, and how do they make that easier to consume for the developers internally? And that's where we also see AI overlapping a little bit. You know, can AI help them build better software quickly in order to get a new product to market or a new service to market? And it's that velocity, which I think is particularly important to our customers and their businesses, because we've got to unlock the value that's in their network.
Okay. So I liked the focus in the first session, coming back to some business realities. So we're going to move on to that aspect of it now, and ask the panel: are cost benefits being realized from this transition to cloud native, and is the cost structure changing as a result of cloud-native strategy? So, Abir, if we can start with you here, because there's something that it seems that Elisa has recognized and has been seeing in action.
Yeah. I mean, when we transitioned cloudified, for example, network functions in the early days, network functions to these sort of private clouds or hybrid clouds, there we could already see the cost benefits. But now, as we are in the next phase of transformation and moving functions and workloads to public cloud, the business case becomes much more difficult. Here the traditional, just looking from a cost perspective, it's very difficult, very challenging to just build a bottom line business case. So that requires both the organization that is responsible for cloudification, but as well as the business to consider how can we actually build the top line in order to, or how can we find new ways to improve the top line that would also act as a business case for then for the cloudification journey. But I mean, overall, it's no question that the OpEx will increase. And yes, despite TCO overall decreasing due to cloudification, I think many people in this organization here recognize that CapEx and OpEx are treated differently. And in the rooms, they expect to see both improvement in CapEx, but also in OpEx. If not in OpEx, then at least on EBITDA level, and that requires then top line revenue growth through then cloudification.
Okay. And Laura, Gabriella mentioned earlier on about how the asset utilization in telecom is horrific. I liked the accentuation on that particular word. Do you see cloud native truly being able to help with that and gain greater asset utilization? And is there going to be a way to be able to track that and KPIs to realize it?
I do genuinely think so, actually, but we come back to the data point, and cloud native is only as good as the data that you're pushing through that pipeline in a kind of, automated fashion. But also, I think one of the challenges that I'm facing into on the program that I am right now is that there's so much data in terms of actually, the data within our kind of physical estate, and actually how you organize that and which data is most significant in order to drive your decision making, in order to unlock that asset utilization, in order to then drive the value for actually doing the activity in the first place, is one that requires a bit of thought and actually experimentation and kind of creativity on the part of the developers that you're working with and the teams that you're working with as well. So I think it's definitely possible, right? And it's something that we have definitely as a strategic aim in order to, realize the value of our physical assets in multiple different ways. But actually, getting that data in order, getting the right structure to it, upskilling a team so they can ask the right questions of that data, because it's its own journey. And I point out here, just as a final comment, the difference between data and information and knowledge. Data is data, right? It's a kind of whole bunch of different things, and it can mean anything in different contexts. And so actually, working with the team in order to then drive intelligent decision-making off that data means that actually you structure the data into information. And then actually, once you've practiced the structure of that information, then it becomes knowledge. And then actually, you're really at a point where you can unlock the capability of the teams, make those workflows automated and actually, unleash the potential of AI in that space.
Okay, and Frans, if I can come back to you, can you identify some of the ways in which Deutsche Telekom is starting to see cost benefits from its cloud-native strategy?
Sure. So, as I tried to explain a little bit, if today we are building, right, and we still run our legacy services, so it's still a bit tough. But looking forward, if I look into my planning, we see demand going down quite a bit, and especially demand on people, which is helping to deal with the challenge you have anyhow because of age structure in Europe. So and all the one thing and the other, do more with less people. So that's clearly something where we see automation and all around cloud native helping us a lot. On cost, I agree. OpEx will become a challenge, especially as we're so much EBITDA focused, and OpEx is poison for EBITDA, as we all know. So this will clearly be a challenge where we really need to see how can we deal with that. Another aspect I'd like to put, and that's again coming from this horizontalization, and again of the challenge finding good people to run your networks. Once you are in such a horizontal architecture and a horizontal environment, both top and bottom, it will become much easier. So the hurdle gets much lower for people changing from one team to the other. Because yes, as a development, you need to learn about this new system, but the rest of the environment stays the same. So they don't, today, if you move from, I don't know, packet core to database, everything is different, right? The supplier is different, they use a different cloud, they use different tools, they use a different OSS system, everything is different. Once you move to this horizontal architecture, all the cloud onboarding, all the automation, all the pipes, this is all the same. So the person who is willing to move and learn something new, he needs to learn now how does a database work versus the packet core, but he works in a well-known environment. So he can learn much quicker and support the new team in a much shorter time frame, which helps you again a lot in dealing with where people retire and where you need skill and how do you find that. So this is it's cost saving in that sense that it's easier to keep your workforce where you need to have it. And that's again an indirect effect, but it's a very nice side effect of this horizontalization, which I personally believe will help us big time going forward.
And you're seeing that happen right now?
Yes.
Okay. That's good and very encouraging, of course, for the whole industry and also for the people that work at telecom operators as well. I'm sure that's going to make it more attractive. And Daryl and Vivek, I want to come to you and ask, when you're engaging and going to talk maybe with potential new customers, are you going in and saying, look, Cloud Native, we can help you reduce your costs by helping you to adopt a cloud native strategy? Is that an opening gambit? Talk about the money right up front? Get to the data second?
Yeah, I think obviously the money up front is one aspect, and that is an important part of the conversation. In our business, having that common infrastructure that you were just talking about to drive that scale is particularly important. And using that technology ourselves has also been very important because it's very difficult to go sell something to somebody if you don't use it, because they'll ask you what you're using. So we've been focused very heavily on cloud native pipelines and development of software. As you know, we are also heavily involved in a number of other industries, including the automotive industry, where we have hundreds of pipelines of software being developed for ADAS, for cockpits, for IVR solutions in vehicles that all get updated over the air using the telecommunications networks. And we've been able to do that and demonstrably, and we can share the data at 20% less costs, 30% more efficiency with 40% better code. And those are very tangible things that we can actually relate to, driving a ROI in our business and how we deliver better software in those use cases in that example. And we're driving that knowledge and that experience and that sharing into the telecommunications market space to enable new services in what we're trying to achieve.
Okay.
At least from my experience, what we generally start the conversation with is speed. Cost does arise as an outcome of that. And when I say speed, if you look at what Cloud Native enables, you can do more with less in terms of infrastructure. So there is a component of speed and cost saving there. You can ship things faster. You can do things in a very, very isolated, piecemeal manner rather than having to do a complete monolithic change. Something Franz mentioned that, if you have a very siloed approach from vendor A and B and C, if you have to change one part of that, the whole chain in a legacy world had to be sort of redone, etc. And the third thing that we're seeing is that, and this is now intersecting very nicely with a cloud native horizontal cloud platform, which also starts using machine learning, is energy savings. So speed is the starting point for our conversation because I think telecoms as an industry hasn't necessarily been known for various reasons to be the most agile and the fastest in terms of not just evolving, but also responding to things that happen sometimes out of their control. It could be a regulatory challenge, it could be a new technology that gets unleashed, it could be a different business model or what the OTTs are doing, et cetera, et cetera. For them to move, and we've always heard this term, at least for several years now, from telco to techco. I have a much more basic definition of that. It's from cable to code. If you just want to sort of intuitively explain this to anybody, regardless of where they sit in the org chart, saying, what does this mean? Don't think cables anymore, think code speed. And if you can think code speed across the stack, this hopefully starts you thinking towards, yes, I have a cost advantage if I do this, but that cost advantage is coming to me because I can do things faster and I can do it with lesser kit. So that's how we approach the conversation, typically.
Okay. And I want to, because incredibly, we're going to have to wrap up in a few minutes, not just yet a few minutes, but I want to just dive a little deeper into that aspect of speed and capability. And obviously, Frans, you mentioned that earlier. It's not just speed of getting out to market, but speed of being able to react. But if I can start with you, Laura, and ask about, are you seeing things being able to move more quickly? Because you mentioned, the telecom operator sector is very often accused of being way too slow, missing the boat, et cetera, but are things accelerating? Are we seeing a quicker pace of development now? And are we seeing the cloud-native telcos, AI-native telcos, as operators are becoming, are they going to be able to react more quickly and deliver new things to customers in a quicker way? Laura.
I think that's always a multi-pronged answer according to which part of any organization you're reflecting on at a particular point in time. But certainly in order to drive that cloud-native agility, you're looking at putting the customer at the heart of everything you do and bringing that voice very, centrally to your development team. So we were talking about, breaking down those functional silos earlier and creating more of a horizontal, not only in a kind of architecture sense, but in an organizational sense as well. And I think you're seeing that. You're seeing that kind of move from proof of concept to virtual organization to physical organization. And excitingly, you're seeing that at BT with the, emergence of the BT International organization that was announced yesterday, with the kind of bringing together people from right across the organization to be very, very focused on that segment and to be able to respond to the customer in a much quicker, more agile way. So I think that kind of organizational design element is definitely one part of that. There's also a part around how you upskill your people using various different mechanisms and approaches in terms of, do you buy talent, build it, what's your partnership agreement, how are you bringing kind of external contractors into that space in order to drive that agility as well, and also the role of automation, actually, both alongside and augmenting kind of, your workforce. Actually, I've got interesting questions with my team right now about kind of how we're using AI to upskill individual productivity that will then go on to co-creating decision-making, right? And then actually into more of a kind of supervisory role. So yes, you're starting to see it. It's always, a spectrum answer according to where you sit in a particular organization and how far along that journey you are. But you're definitely seeing it, and I think that's a very exciting development.
Okay. And Abir, are you seeing things speed up, an acceleration of being able to, react to demands of the industry more quickly, and also react to incidents, security or otherwise?
I mean, having things in cloud has definitely, I think, Francis mentioned in his beginning, in this initial note, that whereas previously we were talking about months, and now we're talking about hours or days or minutes, even seconds. So it's completely different. But also want to touch upon the point about being able to develop and address customer needs more efficiently. And also when you're able to break through these vertical silos that you were just speaking about, you then also have the ability to reallocate resources according to your priorities. So then you don't need these vertical skill sets that are not reallocatable as easily as when you have people in this sort of more horizontal, where they can then reallocate according to then the organization's priorities.
Okay. Daryl, are you seeing things speed up?
Yeah, most certainly. I mean, our customers are all saying, can we do things faster and more efficiently? But more interestingly, they're very focused on the metrics, the KPIs that they're trying to drive. I didn't see that 5 years ago. I saw them moving in a direction because technology solved a problem. They built things from an engineering perspective, and they thought customers would come, maybe. But now they're very focused on, where's the market moving? How agile do we need to be there? And what is the technologies that we can make available in our network to get us there faster? And I think the tools that we have today enable a lot of that. And I think that it's an exciting period of time for us, particularly in this industry, if we grasp onto that opportunity.
Okay. Vivek? Are we enabling the speedier telco?
I think so. Not just telco, but in general. I think one of the comforting factors is that at least 3 or 4 years ago, these conversations had a very heavy element of the vendor community trying to explain and excite the audience on the other side. There has been a dramatic reduction in the need to do that, which tells you two things. One, it's become much more understood and to some degree accepted by the customer sort of segments, depending on which vertical you're talking to, et cetera. And the fact that they genuinely believe no change is free of pain, first of all. So this is a change. But the fact that we're seeing more and more conversations happening where either they want to start with a proof of concept or proof of value and eventually get onto a roadmap for this change. I think if I look at it in terms of just the number of customer conversations which have started resulting in actual execution on the ground, I think it's a significant magnitude higher than I would say 3 years ago for us. So there is clear evidence that this is getting adopted and accepted with a little bit better understanding of what this can unlock and enable for the businesses.
Okay, that's encouraging. And Frans, to close out the session with yourself, Manish from Dell earlier on referenced, that the industry needs to get out of this, the POC, the proof of concept prison, quicker. Is this now happening? Are we seeing that in reality?
For us, definitely, yes. I said we are in the middle of implementing that and by end of next year to a significant part and the vast majority by 27 in our core networks, I expect everything to run as cloud native into our private telco cloud. So for us, this is definitely happening.
Okay.
And hopefully that is inspiring for the rest of the industry.
Okay. Well, fantastic. That's a great note to end on, but we do need to wrap up there as we need to begin to start our next session. So I'm going to ask our guests to leave the stage now and ask our next panelists to come up, but please give our Cloud Native Telco panelists a big round of applause. Thank you very much. Thank you.